Hi little bees, and welcome back to our apiary, a place where we grow, nurture and improve our art skills together. I'm Dr. B, and in today's video we will be looking at my top 5 essential art tips for the beginner artist. This is the second episode in my Essential Art Advice series. I've been creating this series especially for those of you who are interested in art but don't quite know where to start. The focus of today's episode is simply to give you the advice you need to get your art journey started. I will be giving you 5 of my most useful art tips. These were my game changers, which helped me go from feeling very intimidated about creating art to feeling confident and happy with my progress. So, let's go! Tip number 5 is use whatever supplies you have and just start drawing. Firstly, remember that drawing comes before painting. You need to learn how to walk first before you can learn to run. So we all need to start with drawing skills. These are the basic foundation skills behind all of your art. Drawing skills are just skills, and just like any other skill, they can therefore be learned and developed over time. This one's a simple one. We know that we need to get better at drawing, but we can't do that if we don't actually try to draw anything. It seems logical enough, right? So if you only have printer paper and a pencil, then you start right there. It doesn't matter. Just use what you have in order to develop your skills. As a beginner, you're not looking for something archival yet because you're not trying to sell your first drawing. So you don't need to worry about that just yet. Just focus on the skills you need to acquire and develop first. Tip number 4 is always swatch out the supplies you have. Before you even draw anything at all, you need to get a feel for what your art supplies can actually do. What are their properties? I mean, you wouldn't try to play a piano without trying out the keys and hearing the notes first, would you? Get to know the supplies by swatching them out. Use them to figure out the range of values you can get. Feel and establish the hardness of the pencil, how many layers of graphite your paper can take before it won't take any more. Figure all of this out before you start your drawing. Just play with and experiment with the supplies to get a feel for how they work, and keep your swatching or experimentation page close at hand because you will need to refer to it later on during the drawing. A good drawing should have areas from each of the swatching samples so that there is enough contrast in the piece to make it visually interesting. So if you're using graphite, for example, try to use the full range of each of those values you've swatched out within your drawing, because in the end it will make for a stronger piece of art. If you are enjoying this video, make sure you stay until the end because I have definitely saved the best for last. And don't forget to give it a thumbs up, that way YouTube will then suggest it to others and help more little bees find our apiary. Tip number 3 is get 2 sketchbooks or more. While printer paper is great to begin with, eventually you're going to have lots of pieces of paper lying around, so you'll want to get at least 1 sketchbook. Now one of these will be for the more finished, more polished pieces, and the other one can have more of an experimental purpose where you can quickly sketch out or even write down any ideas that you have for future art pieces. So that one will be more of a brainstorming or working sketchbook. If you're constantly scared of making marks on paper and worried about ruining your sketchbook, you may lose that fleeting thought or idea. Also, you lose valuable practicing time because you feel too intimidated to even make a start. So, don't let that hold you back. Allocate one of those sketchbooks as your safe place to make mistakes and learn and grow without the pressure of producing a perfect piece of art every time. Drawing and painting are skills. They are not talents at all. So if you spend enough time pursuing those, you will inevitably improve. And that brings me to my next tip. Tip number 2 is allocate time every day for drawing or sketching. And that may include setting up your own tracing exercises. Even if painting is your goal, you need the drawing skills to be there before you even pick up a paintbrush. And if you really are intimidated about drawing, use tracing paper to help you understand how to draw and how to really see the shapes in your drawing. Or you can use any of these other tracing techniques that I will show you now. So step 1, get yourself a printout of your reference photo. In this case, I've just printed out one of the many photos I've taken myself with my smartphone. Step 2, from here you can either use tracing paper, you can put graphite onto the back of your printout, or you can use transfer paper, although this isn't recommended if we're transferring this image onto watercolor paper, as the graphite application will be far too heavy to use there and it can't be easily removed or even reduced. But if you're just working in your sketchbook, you can use any of these 3 methods, okay? So those are 3 different ways that you can set up your own tracing exercise with whatever image you want. The aim of the exercise is to give yourself the outline of the subject plus some additional information. For example, the center of the flower and the little bee, and then you have to fill in the rest of your image by looking at the reference photograph and carefully drawing in that image yourself. And that is step 3 of the tracing exercise. Tracing paper was something that I used as a tool to help me improve my drawing skills. Since 2016, when I first started drawing, I definitely love that feeling of drawing something freehand just by looking at a reference photo, and that is something that I can now do after all these years of practice. However, in the beginning, I know that I learned so much from tracing, and that's why tracing gets a mention here, because it really helps you to understand how to draw and how to construct the subject in your piece. If tracing is what gets you to your sketchbook so you can practice, then definitely trace. Start with something that doesn't have any complicated line work and just allow the tracing exercise to build your confidence with drawing. If you trace something out first and then try to draw it, you will find it so much easier than if you tried to just draw something freehand. As long as you are getting to your sketchbook as often as you can and giving the process the time that it needs, I can promise you that you will be on your way to improving your drawing skills, improving your hand-eye coordination, and creating those pathways in your brain which will make it easier for you to draw the next time you sit down to do so. Lastly, and most importantly, my number 1 tip for the beginner artist is this: stay in black and white. Try to remain in monochrome. And really what I'm saying here is that there needs to be a progression. Just use those grayscale values that you've already been swatching out until you feel confident in your drawing abilities. Values are how light or how dark something is. Values make or break the piece of art. And often when a drawing doesn't look right, more often than not, there's a problem with the values in the piece. Now, it doesn't matter if you are using graphite, ink, or a ballpoint pen. The point is, pay attention to your values and depict those in your drawing. Use a reference photo and always convert it to grayscale. And these days you could very easily just do that on your smartphone. You can also use the photo app in your phone to convert the image into one where you can clearly see the line work. It's going to be different for each person's phone, but find the filter that will do that for you. You might even choose to print that out to use to help you understand the shapes in your photo. Now, I know many of you will want to jump straight into colour and painting, but trust me, if you haven't spent that time developing those drawing skills, painting without them will be a very frustrating experience, and it may lead to you abandoning your project. So make sure you clearly communicate in your drawings which parts are darker, the shadows, the darker values, and which parts are lighter, the highlights, the lighter values. The interplay between the lights and darks is what gives a piece its power, no matter the medium. Keep your range of values broad, and if you do want to then add colour and you feel you can move on from drawing, then painting in black and white and then glazing colours over this is definitely the best and least overwhelming way to do this. I will be covering all of this in a future video, so don't worry. But basically, in a nutshell, glazing is just like adding a transparent filter. So glazing allows you to add colour to your painting and at the same time maintain the accuracy and contrast that you've already established with your grayscale values. It allows you to enhance your piece without compromising on the way it has been drawn and painted. None of the outlines or proportions change when you are glazing, so the subject and background will remain as accurate as they were in your initial drawing. This piece here was actually initially painted entirely in black and white, and after that several transparent glazes were applied to get this final result. If you want art to be a part of your life, you are actually the only person in the world who can do that for yourself. Self-awareness is always key in life. If you're not self-aware, you're always going to be feeling unsettled and unfulfilled. So start small, take your baby steps, do a small study or sketch, and allow that growth to emerge from your passion for art. Thank you so much for watching, little bees. I hope you found this useful. Stay busy, keep creating, and I will see you in the next video.